Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Explode Your Expert Business Show. Today, I'm here with the one and the only Mia von Loga. How you doing, Mia?
Oh, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm actually having a beautiful time today. How are you? And I'm happy to be here.
I am incredibly happy to be talking to you. I'm really well. Thank you for asking. And today we are going to talk about a new concept called BeyondDefence. So we're gonna leave it there, so then our listeners will this will be revealed throughout the conversations. But before we get started talking about BeyondDefence and the importance of taking care of ourselves and putting ourselves first, and how do we do that, then I want to ask you a bit more about you and your journey. So what got you to create, what is the journey that got you and the path that got you to create BeyondDefence?
Yeah, it's good that you asked me that, because I've asked myself that. Because I was like, how did I end up here doing this now? So it's like, It's a bit, you know me a little bit, my journey takes turns. But so I would say it was breathing. Now, all of us know one of these deep sighs, you know these. Yes, these. Exactly. And
I recommend everyone right now you're listening to this show, just
let's do this together. And now you would probably think, oh yeah, it's, you might imagine me being in a yoga class doing this because this is where we know it from, or after a hard work day, as you go home and you're like, finally. But no, it wasn't that moment. It was me being in a self-defense class doing Krav Maga, feeling this deep sigh of like, oh, and I was like, what's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
And
so before you move on, can you just give context of what Krav Maga is?
Yes, of
for
course.
our listeners.
So Krav Maga is a close combat form that's taught here it's taught for self-defense, but it was initially invented for the military. So this is how I'm sure I'm going to keep it.
Yeah, perfect.
So it's very effective. Let's put it that way. And this is why I really like it too. So you see, in this moment, there was like, in all that surrounding of that context, I was having this deepest sigh ever, and I was like, okay, what's happening here? And exploring that, when I went home, I was like, what happened with me? My body felt like, woof. And I thought, okay, I want to explore this a little bit more. There's more to this than what I'm doing right here. And now I have to take you a little bit back on my personal journey.
Yeah.
Which has not always been very comfortable, because I'm unfortunately one of these women. There are many women out there who have experienced sexual harassment and emotional abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very young when that happened to me, or when that happened, and even as a young woman also. And so, speaking in this context, I think I carried around for a long time the idea, or the like desire to learn self-defense, or go and like do something if that would ever happen, that I would be able to do, and it took me decades to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
And but that's one part of what is important, what brought me there, because I realized in that moment I just described that what I was doing wasn't self-defense. What I was doing was taking care of myself on a complete different level. That I get shivers now. So, but if I get shivers, that means I'm speaking the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I felt like, okay, I'm saying yes to myself. I'm saying yes instead of saying no to others. I'm saying yes. This is it. And my body felt, and this is really, my body felt awakening. Like it had been wanting to get nourished, and had, like these were the skills I didn't have in the past. And finally, I was making the move to teach it.
Yeah.
And my mind was softening too, in terms of, okay, now I don't have to take care of all of this by myself. And I need to mention that because I actually had been taking care of myself for a long time. Ever since that happened when I was growing up, I went to counseling. I went to, I dug deeper into psychology.
Right.
I even studied psychology. I felt the urge to help others, and became a
So
person.
mentally, you were already taking care of yourself. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. So this is the point. Exactly. So I was in a good place in myself, but that felt like the missing link. And being a very strong, ever since I was a girl, being a very strong-willed person, that really was like getting me. No, this is something I want to go for.
Yeah.
And I know this is very personal. And obviously, what I tapped into the expertises I had already, a gathering, like being a coach, being studying educational science and all that. So that brought me together onto this path. And I think also starting yoga at the same time was the thing where I realized, okay, there is more nourishment than you have thought, Mia. More nourishment than you need in terms of self-care, because you have a spiritual side as well.
Yeah.
So yes, this is how it came.
I have a question, because now you can see that from the experience, there wasn't just one thing that got you on the path. I mean, that helped you complete or heal the process of that trauma, or like fully taking care of yourself. There is a combination of elements.
Absolutely.
After how long of taking care of yourself, in particular mentally or spiritually, you then decided to also take care of yourself physically by joining the Krav Maga class? Because we see that there are maybe a lot of women out there that or they don't take care of themselves. I'm talking about women because that's the context. Men do the same.
Sure.
But if you're talking about sexual harassment, then that's something that happened mostly to women. So what happened? What was the switch in you that said, you know what, I need to go to the self-defense class?
It's a good question. It was a calling. It was just like, it was one day that what happens to me several times. It was like, came to me and said, okay, I'm going to do it now. Bam. And then I did it. I looked it up in the internet, found a class, went there, bam. Ever since I did it. So it's a couple of years, it's a few years ago that I started this, and it came out of nowhere. Even though, as I said, I carried it around, that request for a decade, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and what you mentioned in terms of women not taking care, and that you just phrase it like that. I don't think it's not more like in context with sexual harassment. It's not their duty to do that. Obviously, the boundaries should be absolutely there, and it's,
No, absolutely.
I know you didn't mean.
It came out in the wrong way, but
No.
I completely.
No, I just want to specifically point that out in terms of because this is the thing. We tend to, people, humans, at the moment especially, tend to think about self-care with well-being and wealth, and all that. But have you ever wondered about your physical safety? And that goes for men too. It's not, it's not only for women.
Yes.
Totally. Yeah. I just wanted to
no,
say
absolutely. Thank you for clarifying, because that's exactly what I wanted to mean in terms of at that point where, a lot of times when we have traumas or where we have difficult situations, we look at healing, in particular the mental side or the spiritual side, but then very few times we say, actually, no, that physical side is equally as important. And that's what I wanted to explore. So I know that in the conversations that we had, now you put together all these experiences that you have, all this layer, and then that was a starting point to create BeyondDefence. So can you talk to me a bit more about those layers that you had to explore?
Yeah, this is my pleasure. Well, like you said, everything we do is multi-layered. It's just, it's like, think about it. Whatever you do, you don't do it only with your thought. You do it with a feeling. You do it with an intention. You do it's like you have an effect on somebody else. So this is the base of BeyondDefence, where I bring together the body, the mind, the soul, and the spirit. So we are not only focusing on teaching women skills, like physical skills, but we're working on the mindfulness and the mindset that you can actually apply these skills. So this was the initial aim, to combine self-defense skills and mindset skills to do it. And then I realized, oof, there's even more to that.
Right.
Because, because you have emotions, you have an emotional body. So that energy, even when you have the mindset and the physical skills, you still have maybe triggers, traumas, things that are hindering you, gender things, culture things, all that stuff. All these aspects I bring in there. Yeah. So that's what I describe as soul, basically. So, I also look at something where you find your thrive, your purpose. Why are you doing this? Because no one is doing one thing just for themselves.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hear more about every layer?
Absolutely, let's go deeper into the different layers, because in particular, what I love about this concept, and in the conversation that we had in the past, is the different layers. Because if sometimes we can just focus on one aspect, and we say, okay, actually we need to just focus on this, and then there is not a complete shift, just because we are only tapping into one of these layers. And so I think that already having the awareness of what these layers are is very useful, because then, like you did, you had you started focusing mainly on the mental layer and the mindset part, but then the release happened, and happens when it was the physical, and some people will start going on the physical side and then neglect the other side. So let's explore the different layers.
Okay, so it's exactly how you said it. So I've counted yesterday. I've visited about 15 different teachers of martial arts schools.
Okay.
Just to see, because I'm traveling a lot and I don't want to give up my practice. So, and from that I gathered so much insight, because every teacher always brings something individual in, obviously. And that's great. So I could gather and understand a little bit more what was important for me as an individual, because everybody else was providing me with something else, even if it was just a tiny bit. Yet I have not experienced, or rather few, who have actually dug deeper into these different layers. So I would sit there in a class and I would extensively practice skills, like techniques. And that's great, because like you said, sometimes we need to focus, and so you learn that. But then how are you able to apply that when you're under stress? So what it's great that you know a move, and I know you are into basketball. So even as an athlete, when the game is on, the adrenaline pushes in, and now we are talking here about a life-threatening situation, the worst case.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is freeze, right? It's like, okay, I can't do anything. No, you want to be able to apply to actually take care of yourself.
Yes.
So this is the body side, the physical side, I would just name a few, take into account, obviously, the self-defense skills, the techniques, but we also strengthen the body, not just only through workout, but doing yoga, for example. So I combine yoga into the whole concept, and I focus on helping people to build an individual relationship with their body, to actually understand and have a loving relationship with it, and not just see it as, like the outside thing. The castle is a castle, but you see what I mean, right? So you have to have a relationship.
And what was the biggest thing that this gave to you? Like, if you have to talk about your personal experience, the focus on the physical side, what was the biggest thing that gave to you?
Well, you mean like the benefit?
The biggest benefit, or the certainty, or what is that gave it to you?
It actually made me aware of that I'm the whole of me, so that if I want to live with myself, I rather make an effort to actually build a good relationship with everything, all of me, and feel more. I feel settled. I feel good. I feel like I'm alive. So, and not just walking around in some shell. So Perfect. I think that's really it. And at the same time, as I said, the mind is so important. So we take care of mindfulness. We do the mindset, like I mentioned before. There's a lot of focus on awareness, but in a good way, not alertness where you're tensing up, but in terms of mindfulness, to be present, to be there, which gives you a complete different feel to walk around, to be there, to be in conversations, to even in business, like, and if you talk about the other layer of the soul, then I put the emotional management side in there, where a lot of people have a difficulty to deal with their emotions. And now we're talking in a surrounding about self-defense. Obviously, aggression is the subject. Now, there can be some sides there, two sides, right? Maybe I can see people burst into anger and not being able to control their anger, and then others would not allow themselves to be angry. But aggression is a good thing. If it's there to protect you, it's like this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
And it can be a motor, right? It can be a motivator.
Yeah. It's about how is that used, how is that energy, type of energy channeled?
Exactly.
Is it channeled to protect yourself in the right situation, on the right moment, or is that channeled to hurt and harm other people? And that's the difference that I'm hearing you making.
That's right. You have understood that very well.
Perfect. Okay, I'm glad we are on the same page.
No, it's good. It's just like, and that's it. And that's important because it's another aspect, the anger, because it is it's not super aggressive, but obviously aggression is a part. So what you just said, one of the principles also is that we don't want to fight in Beyond Defense.
Right.
But if we have to fight, we do it wholehearted. So if you can avoid it, if you don't have to go in there, don't go in there, right? But if you have to deal with something, then deal with it.
Then you know how to deal with it, and you have the tools to deal with it. I'm curious to know a bit more about your side, talking about the soul and the emotional management. Were you someone that was repressing your anger, and then you had to put it out, like to learn how to use it to be able to deal with the situations? Or were you using the anger in an uncontrolled way and you had to learn how to turn it down? Where were you in that spectrum?
It's a very good question. And you see me laughing because I'm a very impulsive person. So my anger would jump sometimes into people's faces. But on the other hand, no, I actually was doing both. And in some moments, I was repressing my anger because I was not allowing myself to have it. And there might be family surrounding or whatever, like things where I felt like, no, I can't do this. And then because I was holding back a lot of anger from what I experienced, boom, it would explode in other parts. Being a stupid person to someone, maybe. And yes, so it was both sides, to learn to control it or to channel it in a different way. And allowing it at the same time that's okay. That it's okay that it is a huge force that is that I can take a lot out of. So yeah.
Brilliant. And so then you talked about the spiritual side, which is the fourth layer. How is that different from the soul?
Well, the spiritual aspect is actually that we take into account that we're all connected. So what I mentioned before, when there are two aspects. If you do something for yourself, you will always have an effect on somebody else. Right. And that goes both ways. You can inspire someone. That could be something that you benefit from. But on the other hand, if you're talking about self-defense stuff, you might be in a situation where somebody's, even if they are threatening you, you are going to have an impact on their life as well. And now maybe some of you think, well, why do I care? They are threatening me. Yeah. And I give that. You have every right to think that, right? Yet I'm talking about appropriate behavior, appropriate responses, or appropriate reflection on what you're doing. So if somebody is talking to you in a not so nice way, you might not need to kick their asses to the moon. You could just, see if you were to say...
it's not that you use the physical side in any confrontation.
Something like that, for example. So
Mom, you annoyed me. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So, and thinking that, knowing that you have the impact on others.
Yeah.
This is what I'm teaching in Beyond Defense as well, that we're all connected, that when you are going to do something brilliant, others will follow you, but also we're taking the spiritual side of it as something given, not to question, and we don't need to study it like monks or anything. Yet there is more to life than just being a human. We are spiritual beings, and so we are changing the world with what we're doing, and this goes for this as well.
Yeah.
And I would love to point something out here, if you allow me to, because this is so. Well, I've realized that every woman who does self-defense does not do self-defense only for herself. She does it for another woman too, and for the future daughters and for the future grandchildren. Every woman who stands up and says yes to herself basically does that for other women too, in just pointing out, I can deal with this. I am as strong or stronger than you, and I deal with this my way, and I let love flow. And I'm talking about love. I'm not talking about physical violence now. Yeah. I'm talking about because I'm worth it. And this is that is so strong that it made me thrive for it, that we can, on a spiritual view, but doing that individually, change the collective strength of women. And this is, that's now.
I got goosebumps. I'm not a woman. I got goosebumps. So I can relate. Of course, I cannot talk on a women's perspective because I'm a man, and it's a complete different. I mean, I can understand things conceptually, but I will never be able to experience things in exactly the same way. But I can see that if I have to report it to the experiences that I have, and these 4 different layers, I can see how they all interact with each other. Because, for example, when I was a teenager, I was bullied consistently, and I've never been the person who wanted to fight back. Also because I didn't have the means to fight back, and I was even more scared about having a confrontation with some of my peers than actually standing my ground. And so I would just allow everything to happen and do the best I could to become the joker of the situation, so then I wouldn't get hurt and become like in the cool people club, and so I could avoid being bullied. But then I saw actually how that impacted my future life, because it became a pattern of avoiding confrontations, and then became a people pleaser, because it just came from the fact that I couldn't take care of myself physically. And then it impacts the mental side and the spiritual side. So I can see what you mean in throughout this experience. Now, the question I have is, do we need to work on all the 4 levels at the same time, or are these other levels and these layers that naturally, maybe innately, everyone is more developed than others, and so they should focus on something? With the people that you've worked with and your own experience, where do you stand with that?
Well, first off, thank you for sharing your point of view from your own experience. I think this is really, you bring it to a point, and it's not only about women, it's about everybody who feels inferior at one point. But I'm going to jump onto your question. So basically, no one has to do anything. If you say, do we need to work on everything?
Okay,
no, it's your choice. So this is the beauty of it. You don't follow a strict teaching line or anything, but you build your own wholesome self-care package, empowerment package, with the help of a trainer. So you're serious than any of your fellow students. So basically, like you said, everyone is at a certain stage at all these layers. So there is no template. There is no straight line. I work with individuals, and then you will always tap into all layers. Like I said, we do that anyway.
Yeah.
So I will provide you an individual, personal outlay where you can start working on it step by step. So you tap into all layers at the same time. But after all my experience, people people do actually realize and feel what's the first thing that has to be, prioritized. So, and then I go with them or, help them navigate through it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. It answered my questions because it's important. Like sometimes we can have imbalances. So, like you did at the beginning, like the thing that you had that you started focusing on is sorting out more the mental side, but then the physical side was lacking, and so then you had to go there, and actually that's where you had the other breakthroughs. But it's important then to keep the balance, because then otherwise one side then becomes higher than the other, and that's where there is no balance there. And I think that balance, what I'm hearing you saying, is like the most important, is the core of this concept. Can you expand a bit more on that?
Yeah, and it is actually in all matter. So it's in terms of the breathing. It's something where you start balancing at the first thing. So breathing is one element that we do. Taking into account that if you have watched, for example, Karate Kid when you were younger, they talk a lot about balance. And
absolutely.
It's like martial arts thing, so balance is the key. So yes, we are making sure that people are taking the right amount of each layer to have a ground under their feet, basically, and have a stable stand, whatever they do, and not just self-defense, but in their daily lives. So I would make sure that that basically when I work with people, that they always get an emotional management task with them, that I give them a focus. And one of the things, like I said before, is that we start with our intention. So it's never that we focus on the opponent. We always focus on what we want. And built on that, we build the balance to actually make that happen.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I'm actually right now taking a mental check on where should I focus on the most right now. Is that the physical? Is that the mental, the spiritual? So I would like actually invite everyone who's listening right now to do that. And like take an assessment about yourself. I mean, you know what you need. So listen to yourself. Which part of these 4 layers do you need to be focused on the most at this stage? So then you can create that and bring things back to balance. I'm just taking this mental assessment right now. So if we are now, I want to move to the next part of the interview, which is lifting the veil. Now, in this part, I'm gonna always ask my guests to share a tool, a book, resources, practices that they use to make their life or business better. So, what is that for you, Mia? What resources would you like to share?
Yeah, I would go for 2 books, because they go in the combination. It is, one of them is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and the other one is Sapience by Yuval Harari. And I think these 2 in the combination are very, very strong books that have taught me a lot about human and spiritual existence, and have a complete game changer for me in my life.
What was the biggest thing you got out in terms of personal message from The Power of Now? Okay,
personally, I tell you, relief. One of these sighs where I thought, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay.
I'm right. There's nothing wrong with me.
I'm okay. I'm not weird. I might be weird, but no, it's okay. I'm just a spiritual being in a human body. So basically, yeah.
And how about the biggest thing you got out from Sapiens? I love both of these books.
Oh my God. There was this page, there was this chapter about when he describes how human actually became slaves to the corn, when they started to work on fields and where they just started to dedicate their lives to working, and it's like that blew me away. That was like what I did just now. It's like, oh my God.
That's where it all comes from.
Yes, exactly. Why the heck? It's like, what did we do? It's like, and you put me in this misery. No.
Bastards.
No, that was such an eye opener. I just couldn't believe.
Yeah,
Could not believe.
I cannot highly recommend those books
Yes.
read The Power of Now many years ago. It was the very beginning of my kind of, call it spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that way.
Mm.
But it was one of the things that got me to realize, okay, there is a bit more to life than what I think. And then Sapience, I just read it recently. It actually was a birthday gift from another lifetime member, Yelena. And I was like, I was absolutely blown away from that book. In particular, looking at I'm interested in psychology, and I'm interested in why things happen. I was always that annoying kid when I was a kid. Why, mom? Why? Why is this happening? Why? Like, even my teachers in the report were saying, okay, you better explain, Simone, why this happens. Otherwise, you're not going to let you live. And so that Sapiens, that book fed my why syndrome.
Yes, yes, totally. Oh my God,
absolutely
yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Mia, to wrap up, how can people reach out to you? How can people get in touch with you if they want to know more or get involved about or apply the concept of Beyond Defense in their lives?
Well, first of all, obviously, you could go to my website, which must be the easiest. That's www.miavonloga.com/BeyondDefense, where you could subscribe to the newsletter and be updated all the time. So you can find workshops there and events I'm going to do. Whereas I'm still in the, let's say, in the final making of it. So I'm launching the concept completely in 2020, like where it's going to be. But I'm already putting out introduction workshops and newsletters, things, so that you can actually start doing things right now already with tiny tasks, tiny insights. So I would say subscribing to the newsletter, and also obviously social media sites where you can follow me.
Brilliant. So make sure you can scroll down in the show notes. There is the link on the website, miavonloga.com/Beyond Defense, and also connect with Mia on the different social media platform. I would highly recommend for you guys to get involved in Beyond Defense, because it is an incredible tool that you can use it to bring more balance and peace in your life, more confidence. I've been knowing Mia for a while, so I've seen the development of Beyond Defense from the beginning, and I'm really excited about this going out everywhere, because women, men as well, but women, it is a need that we have as human beings. So thank you, Mia, for launching this. Any final words of wisdom from you?
Oh, you know that I speak a lot, don't I? I think I would like to invite everyone who's listening or watching this to do the check, but in terms of not so much what's the first thing you have to work on, but just to explore a little bit and say, am I with my intention? Am I when I go through my daily life? Why don't you guys just check in every now and again and see, am I still following my intention? Because if you are not, you might think about changing that. Because if you follow your intention, you're always in the action. But if you start focusing on what's happening, you will always be in the reaction. And this is something that can make a huge of a difference. And then, if you want to know more, have a chat about it, or see how Beyond Defense can expand that for you, and you feel that it could be, and it can be very useful in business, then just reach out or just share your experience. I would love to hear them. Yeah.
All right, that's fantastic. So make sure you get in touch with Mia. Thank you, Mia, for being on Explode Your Expert Business show. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Simone. It was a pleasure to being here, and thank you for making this interview so beautiful. And,
it takes the two of us. Now, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. I'm sure you enjoyed it. So if you enjoyed, let us know. Leave us a review on the show. Let us know which part of the interview you enjoyed the most. What was your biggest takeaway? And also, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure that you subscribe. Click the juicy subscribe button, so then you can get all the other incredible episodes that we are releasing multiple times a week. Mia, thank you very much again. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that together we grow exponentially. Ciao.
Thank you, Simone. Ciao. Bye.